You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. All right. This is how it works, okay? I know people not all agree with what I'm about to say, okay? But I think most people in this audience will agree. If you're not with Trump, you're not a Republican. I mean, that's just the way it is. If you're not with Trump, you're a fake Republican, right? He's the Republican Party. He's the leader of the Republican Party, and he's the only person out there who's going to save the Republicans and the conservative movement. It's MAGA or not. And if you're against Donald Trump, in my opinion, you're not a Republican. And there's a saying that I've used many times over the years: never trust a never Trumper. There were a lot of never Trumpers around in 2015, 16, 17, and I mean never Trumper Republicans. Most of them slowly came around because they saw that it just devastated the career of Glenn Beck. I mean, Glenn Beck was like the top guy, and he was a never Trumper. He's never recovered from it. In fact, he probably would have been the replacement for Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, if he had not alienated the audience. And there's been some other never Trumpers. Mark Levin, who I've always got my eye on, he was a never Trumper, but he's come around and Trump approves of him, so we'll keep our eye on him. Candace Owens was a never Trumper. A lot of people don't know that or have forgotten about it. And she was part of that group, Candace Owens, making the comments about the size of Trump's hands. Remember all that nonsense? So anyone who was a never Trumper, regardless of how great they are today, I've always got my eye on them. And one of the biggest never Trumpers is Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro, and I saw an article in Mediaite today. Ben Shapiro blames Trump for Republicans losing momentum in the midterms. Now, by losing midterms, does he mean that like the primaries are pretty much all over and there's not something going on this way? What is he? Trump just won over 200 primaries.
I don't know what he means by losing momentum.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well,
because one Democrat won in New York. Is that what this is about?
Exactly.
And flipped this seat. One Democrat in New York, which is a blue state, by the way, always blue, flipped a Republican seat. It's a temporary win till November, right?
He's got to run again. Yeah,
he has to run again, but they get one win, and it's all
over.
of a sudden, everything's changed.
Exactly,
everything's changed. The landscape's totally different.
President Trump has had over 200 primary victories, 17 losses,
but that doesn't matter according to
we've lost momentum.
But this win is what really matters.
So this is in Mediaite now. With full disclosure here, Mediaite is left wing. Okay, But Ben Shapiro said what it is that he said. Conservative pundit and Daily Wire co-founder Ben Shapiro blamed President Donald Trump for Republicans losing momentum ahead of the midterms. And like I said, I don't know what that means. I mean, we've got strong momentum. CBS News projects that the GOP will capture 226 House seats in November, 8 seats more than what is needed to have a majority. Democrats lead in the generic congressional ballot. Yet the latest projections have been far more pessimistic than other recent forecasts. In a Twitter thread, Ben Shapiro blasted Republicans who put the focus on Trump, despite his unpopularity with independents who are a crucial electoral demographic. Now, I'll get to what Shapiro tweeted about, which they're referencing here. That's not true. Midterm elections are not the same as the presidential election year. Midterm election turnout is typically very, very low. The people that mostly turn out, it's almost like primaries, are people that are almost like activists. Okay, so I don't know what he's talking about here. So Ben Shapiro tweeted this: the Republicans are losing steam in the 2022 election, which is total nonsense. I mean, President Trump has unseated how many incumbents, right? 8 of the 10 that voted to impeach him lost the primaries.
I think this is more an instance of wishful thinking.
I think Ben Shapiro's, a lot of his friends have been defeated by Trump-endorsed candidates.
I think he would love to see nothing more than Trump fail.
That's right.
And this is wishful thinking. And because they won one seat over a
I guess.
conservative.
What else could it be?
All of a sudden, everything's different.
Well, a lot of Republicans are snobs, and they like the Republican Party being this exclusive country club, right? They used to talk about country club Republicans, and they don't like the fact that all these regular people that have real jobs are in it, the people that go to rallies. So anyway, Ben Shapiro tweeted this. The Republicans are losing steam, which is a bunch of nonsense, in the 2022 election. There are some reasons for this. The Democratic upswing in the wake of Dobbs being the most obvious factor. That's a reference to Roe v. Wade's overturning by President Trump. But there's something else going on here that represents a deeper problem for the Republican Party. Democrats have banked on this myth since 2012, believing that it excuses their cultural and economic excesses. I skipped over a tweet before that. Okay, this is the first tweet where I read the third one. This is the second one. The GOP is miscalibrating the very nature of the American political scene right now, based on a myth. In fact, the entirety of American politics is based on dueling visions of the same false mythology. That's the mythology of Trump, the mythology of the emerging Democratic minority majority. This is somebody that spent too much time in college.
I don't know what he's even talking about.
I don't know what he's talking about either.
Some people try to sound super intelligent, so they over-intellectualize everything. And then when they do that, it makes no sense.
Yeah, and then he says, he's back to this majority, something, Democrat. He says, Republicans have banked to the extent that they believe only a magical person like Donald Trump can defeat it. This means that when Trump is attacked, Republicans immediately return to making him the centerpiece of the conversation, and this harms them electorally, as every poll is now showing. Okay, I don't believe any of the polls. The polls that we see are all fake polls meant to give you a false impression of what direction you should be going in.
Well, yeah, because he's won all these primaries, so now they're looking at it and they're like, well, what the hell are we going to do about this? So now they're putting out another false narrative, another fake poll story that we're in trouble because of it. I don't know how that makes sense.
Because Ben Shapiro is a never-Trumper. Don't buy any of this crap that he tells you that he used to be, and then whatever his excuse is. He always has hated Trump. He still hates Trump. He's part of that establishment crowd, and he does not want now Trump. Not all of the people that he endorsed are going to win the general election. Okay, I get it. But he's going to win the majority of them, okay? He's going to win the majority of the seats in the House. He's going to win a lot in the Senate. He's going to win governors like Kerry Lake and others. I don't know what Ben Shapiro was saying other than he feels defeated because the Republican establishment is being defeated by Trump.
I think it's wishful thinking. I think he's part of the Republican rhinos or whatever, the anti-Trumpers, like Liz Cheney type.
That's right.
And I think he probably talks to them and is in with them, and he is getting their message across, and that's the message they want to get across.
That's right. So, what Ben Shapiro is talking about here is a bunch of nonsense.
They're trying to give the impression that Trump is ineffective.
He's very effective.
And that if you side with him, it's politically destructive. Meanwhile, Liz Cheney just lost her seat. So the opposite is true.
Time. Yeah, and, here's the thing. It's not that Trump's a magical person, but the political establishment, of which Ben Shapiro obviously is a part of, are so entrenched in Washington, only a huge charismatic leader like Donald Trump can break that. And, Donald Trump and his family are so rich, I call it FU money. They don't have to go along to get along with anyone. They have more money than they and their descendants could ever spend. So they don't have to play ball because 5 years from now, somebody wants to make money on some stock deal or something.
Well, the thing is with the Trumps is their money continues to come in, okay? With politicians, they make a deal, they get their money, and that's it. They get like a check, and it's not like a recurring, endless thing. They get like a one-time check. So they have to keep making these dirty deals to get more money.
That's right.
The Trumps have businesses. They actually produce things. Have places all over the world that bring in constant income. So there's no need to constantly be looking for more money.
That's right.
Digging when it's just constantly coming in anyway. But they're trying to give this
through legitimate ways.
Yeah, they're trying to give this impression that they really are trying to give the impression that he does not have the political power that
he
has.
Good luck.
And it's not going to work. And I'm more concerned about this indictment, and I'm very worried about it because, like you said on the show today, another person wrote an article that the indictment is coming very soon. And obviously they want to do this before the midterms. I think it's going to be coming within the next week or two. But I really feel that President Trump should announce his run for president. I really feel he needs to do that now more than ever because I feel it will protect him in some way. And I wish he would have done this before the raid. I think he's waiting too long. But, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Maybe he's leaving that door open to not run. Maybe he is going to use it as a bargaining chip.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's possible.
He might, and I hate to say this, and I know he's not a quitter, but it is possible that he is going to make a deal with, and maybe he's waiting to announce so he can make that deal. So he can go to them and say, look, I mean, the guy doesn't want to go to jail. He might say, look, I won't run, but I'm still going to be involved in politics, but I won't run. But you have to leave my family alone and me for the rest of our lives and no more investigation or something like that. So he might be using that as leverage and waiting to see what they have to offer.
It's possible.
I'm just guessing. I'm just speculating. I have no clue if this is the way it's going to happen. I don't, and I got to tell you, as much as I love Trump, I wouldn't blame the guy for doing it because how much, I don't want him to, but how much can we expect this man to take for us?
Yeah, he's under a lot of it now.
Seriously.
Yeah.
He is like a punching bag. There has to come a point where we have to say enough is enough. And I'm not being a quitter and I'm not saying anything, but we cannot expect this man to constantly take abuse for us. That's selfish. As much as we love him, I want him to run, and I don't think he'll quit. But if he did, I wouldn't blame the guy. I really wouldn't blame the guy.
I don't want him to quit. Well,
I don't either, but would you blame him if he did? Would you be mad at him if he did?
I would never be mad at Donald Trump for anything, but I wouldn't be happy about. Well, okay, I want to talk about this.
I mean, how much can the man take?
I got a lot of feedback after the show from people today on the radio today, and the insiders in Washington, including Newt Gingrich, are saying that an indictment is coming of Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, very soon.
And Newt Gingrich is an insider, and I don't agree with Newt Gingrich a lot of the times. I'm not a big fan of him. He was in with all that green crap with Nancy Pelosi, the climate change scam and all that. But he's a Washington insider, and he doesn't go on television and say things that are not going to happen because he's obsessed with being correct, and he doesn't want to go on TV and say something. And Newt Gingrich said over the weekend on Newsmax that the indictment is coming. Now, what I got a lot of feedback from today was some people, a very vocal minority of a couple people actually, who like to contact me with multiple accounts and things like this to me, What I was talking about this morning on the radio, I agree there's going to be an indictment against President Trump. So, when an indictment happens, not that I think there should be one, these are corrupt people that will stop at nothing to stop Donald Trump, and it's coming. So we've got to move on from the point. We understand they got nothing. They got the special master coming. They found nothing in the boxes that they took out of Mar-a-Lago, or they'd have major press conferences about it. I agree with. They got nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. But the indictment's coming. So we got to deal in reality. And the people that were upset with me today are acting as if me talking about it is going to make it happen when otherwise it would not.
Brian doesn't have those kind of magical abilities.
If I had the power of persuasion against this deep state, never Trumper establishment in Washington, believe me, I'd be using it. But I don't. They're going to do what they do. And what I was talking about is when President Trump is indicted, as Newt Gingrich said over the weekend, what happens next and how will that play out? I don't think he'll ever give up. I think President Trump will go to prison if they send him there standing up for what's right here.
He might.
Yeah. Drudge today.
That would be nuts.
Let me see if they still have it up there, because I saw this a little while ago. And a lot of what's going on in the press today is to prepare us for the indictment. Yeah, and I was just saying
they're preparing people for it now. They have, and this is how I know Newt Gingrich. They've sent him out.
That's correct.
To
the establishment Prepare
get
us.
the word out and prepare people. Like John the Baptist prepared the way for Jesus. They're preparing the way for the indictment. Well, not really the same thing, but you know what I mean? And they are sending out their messengers to go on TV and prepare the American people for this and let them know. So when it happens, people aren't like shocked or stunned. They're kind of like, oh, yeah, I saw this coming. And I think, you know, people were upset with your show today, and I was in the chat watching. And, you know, you're right. You cannot put your head in the sand and pretend like this isn't happening. And you don't want to get to a place where you delude yourself.
It doesn't mean it's right, so we agree with it.
Exactly. You don't want to get to a place where you're deluding yourself into a false sense of reality here to cope. And that's what a lot of people do. It's the reality, and we have to deal with it. But you know, Trump's the one who really has to deal with it. And pretending it's not happening is not helping him.
No.
It's not helping him. We have to acknowledge it and continue to pray for him. Call your representatives. Do what we can. Let them know we're not happy. But pretending it doesn't exist does not help President Trump.
Now,
Being in denial is not going to help him because he has to deal with it.
I want to go over what's in the Drudge Report in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about Mike Lindell and MyPillow. And over the weekend, MyPillow updated their specials. And some of the specials I've been telling you about the last few weeks are no more. And I tell you sometimes, hey, these are great deals. It's the lowest price ever. And these specials will only be in effect so long as they have the inventory and all the different sizes, et cetera, and they will end without notice. And that happened with a large number of the specials over the weekend at MyPillow.com. And there still are a lot of great deals and a lot of great specials at MyPillow.com when you use our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E. But there's two that I want to tell you about because these are going to disappear without notice, and they're the lowest price ever on both of these items, okay? The one are the MyPillow My Slippers, which I have. These are incredible slippers. They're very comfortable. They're made for all day wear, not just around the house, but out and about. And right now, they are $90 off. The MyPillow My Slippers are $90 off with our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, just $49.98. That's all colors, all sizes and styles. This will end without notice. Mike Lindell's office has already told me they're running low on inventory on certain sizes and colors and styles. And once they start to run out of inventory, it will be discontinued. So that's $90 off to MyPillow My Slippers, now just $49.98 with our promo code Kane. Now, there are a great many specials. Take advantage of all of them with our promo code. But the other one that's a huge one is the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper, which right now is being offered at its lowest price ever, 50% off with our promo code Kane, K-A-N-E, at checkout. Now, Kathy and I have the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper. It will change your life. If you're not getting a good night's sleep, get the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper. It comes in every mattress size, from twin all the way up to California and split king and every size in between. And this 50% off offer will also disappear without notice when they start running out of different mattress sizes for it. So take advantage of it while it is there. 50% off the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper with our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E. All right, so let me go through the Drudge Report, which is really a disgusting.
Oh my gosh, it's one thing after another. I'm going through it now.
Yeah,
I mean, the first 10 articles, it's just.
Well, let me read through these. Now,
I want to slit your wrists.
At the top, this is really disgusting. At the top of the Drudge Report is the liberal fantasy. It's the mugshot of Donald Trump in an orange jumpsuit.
And it's the most unflattering picture that they obviously photoshopped to make him look about 40 pounds heavier than he is.
Yeah, and 25 years older than he is.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, this Republican establishment, never Trumper, media, Democrat fantasy of a mugshot, Drudge Report recreated it. And I'm just going to read you the headlines of the few stories they have here. Right at the top under the fake mugshot, Trump indictment watch. So now they're saying we're on indictment watch. Two, riots if prosecuted, ? Legal team scrambles to find an argument, which implies that they're in trouble and they don't have a defense. Inner circle freaking, meaning the Trump inner circle is in panic because he's going to be indicted. Yeah. MAGA judge to save the Don, ? FBI completes review of docs. Inquiry passes unparalleled test for DOJ, which implies that they have gone through everything and they've got it all sealed and delivered. Republicans quieter as details emerge. Midterms turn toxic. National Archives hit with threats. What's coming next? The Don calls for uprising. You can see what it is that they are pushing right now. And what they're pushing right now is to get the American people in the mindset that Donald Trump is a terrible criminal. He's going to be arrested and he's going to go to jail, so that when it happens, it'll seem like old news. People have a very short attention span in today's, the TikTok. It's the TikTok, YouTube short attention span of like 15 seconds. So if this happens in a week or two, it's going to be like, oh, we heard about that like a week ago, 3 days ago.
What is with this judge? He requested a special master.
A special master is a judge that comes in and looks at all the.
They oversee everything.
They get to look. A special master is appointed by the judge, and they can. I know this because I saw this on an episode of The Good Wife and on another episode of Law and Order where they had a special master. Okay, I love how these people that do shows pretend that they're just experts on everything and just know everything. I don't know everything, but I like legal dramas. But anyway, a special master can look at all of the documents, including the privilege documents between the client and the attorneys.
Well, a federal judge said she's going to appoint one.
Yeah, and a special master can look at everything that's confidential and decide what's in, what's out. We don't know yet.
So she appoints somebody. And is it her decision? It's a woman judge. Does she get to choose?
Yeah, they'll appoint a special master. They'll pick. But it doesn't mean that this other stuff that the other judge here in Florida is doing is stopped. There's multiple judges now. There's going to be multiple cases.
I'm just
it's a mess.
Tired of these endless investigations, and it's never ending.
Well, that's what Kathy. That's what they want. They want us just to say
it's never ending.
Hey. We're tired of it. Let's run DeSantis.
Did they have these things before Nixon? Or did it really start with him?
Nothing like this.
I mean,
not even Nixon
went from
dealt
him,
with this.
and then it went to Clinton. Went through this with his impeachment.
No.
It's like I feel after Trump, now the Republicans have said once they gain control, they're going to investigate Biden, which is fine with me. But it's never ending, and it never goes anywhere. It's like a merry-go-round.
Nothing like this has happened, especially insanity. With a president that's left office. No matter how scandalous a presidency has been, it ends pretty much on a dime when they leave office. There were some hearings. Ronald Reagan had to testify in a court case after he left office in an Iran-Contra case. I can't remember which one it was. It's been a long time, but it wasn't like this.
Well, because Trump is planning on running again.
He's still politically active.
So this is why it is not ending.
And it'll never end.
Right, because he is still – other ex-presidents are not really politically active. They might campaign if somebody's desperate and they need to – like when Obama campaigned for Joe Biden, if they need him to draw in some extra people. But they usually retire and go paint and do whatever. But he's still running. He's still very active.
What they want us to do is what Ben Shapiro wants. They want us to be like, oh, I'm so tired of this. We got to move. Let's just run DeSantis and move on. We're not going to do that.
No, I don't want to give up. And like what I said earlier, I'm not saying Trump should give up. But I don't know how much more he's obviously a strong fighter. But I do feel bad that he's taking all this abuse and he's doing it on our behalf as well. And I feel bad for the guy. And it seems like it is never going to end. I mean, any normal person would say, you know what, I'm throwing in the towel.
Well, that's
do what
why,
you want, because I obviously cannot stop this corruption. It's never going to end. One man is not enough. I'm glad he's not like that. But as I said before, if he did make a deal and leave, I would not be mad or blame the guy. I really wouldn't. I would be like, you know what? We all have our breaking point.
Yeah. Well,
he is a human being.
Here's the thing. What he's going through now, this is what makes him the greatest president ever. Because
he's not normal.
No president has gone through this.
It's true.
He's done no wrong. A lot of presidents get involved in scandals because they've done wrong. Like Bill Clinton raped people, assaulted people, was having sex in the Oval Office with interns.
He was a horny dog.
Richard Nixon was putting together a slush fund of money so that the burglars of Watergate could be paid off and disappear. This Donald Trump's done nothing wrong. He stands up to more than all these other guys were put through together. And he doesn't need it. He's rich. He's famous. He's a patriot. And that's why he's the greatest president ever. No other man would do this for the country and for the American people. Now, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for some fun t-shirts with a MAGA viewpoint, look no further than Parody Boss Designs. That's all one word on Etsy.com. They have funny Biden parody t-shirts, pro-Trump shirts, patriotic shirts, pro-Trump hats, and much, much more. Start shopping right now. Go to Etsy.com and search Parody Boss Designs. That's all one word on Etsy.com. Parody Boss Designs on Etsy. From author Lorraine Kaplan Arbetter comes a book the entire family will enjoy, Sunshine the Fearless Dog, available on Amazon. Help a little dog teach her best friend how to love herself. Sunshine is a tiny little dog with a big personality. She doesn't let her size stop her from being true to herself. Now, she must use all of her puppy love and self-esteem to help her human sister realize her own worth. Can you help Sunshine teach her sister to embrace who she is? Find out when you read Sunshine the Fearless Dog. You'll learn to love yourself along the way, too. It's always important for kids to love themselves for who they are. Sunshine the Fearless Dog is a children's book that teaches kids the importance of loving yourself. This book is perfect for parents, grandparents, and teachers for classroom reading. Sunshine the Fearless Dog from author Lorraine Kaplan Arbetter is available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Order your copy right now. Have you tried to achieve your financial goals, but haven't quite gotten there? Don't worry, you're not alone. You just need the right motivation. And that's what you will find on the podcast, Investing Uncensored, with host Andre Stewart. Investing Uncensored brings listeners a candid and unfiltered glimpse into the real life of professionals from all industries, from pro athletes, tech founders, real estate moguls, and entertainers, who give tips on how they became financially independent or wealthy by investing. Whether it was mentally, physically, or monetarily, they invested to get where they are today, and share with Andre Stewart what started them on their journey to becoming an entrepreneur or choosing a particular career path as their main source of income. Andre Stewart is an experienced and successful investment banker who has advised venture capital firms and some of the largest tech startups in the world, and he shares his experience and expertise with his listeners. Add Investing Uncensored with host Andre Stewart to your podcast playlist, available on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and where you get your podcasts.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Let me play this audio. This is Kamala Harris. They're asking her about the student loan forgiveness.
Who specifically is footing the bill for student loan forgiveness? We haven't gotten a concrete answer from the administration yet. Well, let's start with this. First of all, a lot of the same people who are criticizing what we rightly did in following through on a commitment that we made to forgive student loan debt are the same people who voted for a tax cut for the richest Americans. So when we look at who is benefiting from this, 90% of the people who are going to benefit from student loan forgiveness make under $75,000 a year. And that debt has been the reason that they're unable to start a family, buy a home, and pursue their piece of the American dream.
Okay. Now, first off, I'll tell you, Kamala Harris, I never realized this before. I'm watching this video of her. She looks like Michael Jackson a little bit.
Maybe she's had some work done.
Yeah, really. She's, well,
is she lightening her skin more? Or because he was into that?
It's her bone structure, and
maybe
she's not
had some work done.
Really good at the makeup. But you know, this thing about, okay, the richest get the tax breaks. The rich, they get these tax breaks she's talking about. They're not being given free money by the government. They're being allowed to keep more of their own money and not give as much of their own money to the government. That's different than taking a student loan from the government and not paying it back. It's completely different.
Yeah, it's their money to begin with.
That's right.
And the student loans is not their money. It's borrowed money.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they don't understand that.
The tax
concept.
breaks are their money.
Don't get an answer out of her either.
No, and Kamala, Michael Jackson Harris here, it's just So what, they made the commitment. You can't make a commitment. Well, I guess you can make a commitment to do something that's wrong. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
To do the wrong thing that you committed to, that you shouldn't have committed yourself to. But she never really answers a question because she's stupid.
Well, no politician ever answers a question.
Yeah, she's the worst,
that's nothing new.
She's the worst. What a wasted opportunity. First female vice president of the United States. And what does she do with it? Nothing.
She's an empty suit.
Nothing. Now, this is the one everyone's talking about this today. This is the governor of New York.
And we're here to say that the era of Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
Okay. Now, the governor of New York, she's got a husky voice, doesn't she? She doesn't even sound like a woman.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like Kathleen Turner, maybe, or more.
Like Kathleen Turner, without the sultry, not without the sexiness.
Yeah, or a Margot Kidder later in life,
or someone who smokes 3 packs a day.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
and has damaged their throat.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, a couple things about this. One,
of course, I have a kind of a husky voice, but I had throat surgery.
You had throat surgery, Kathy.
So that's my excuse.
A couple things about this. When a woman tries to talk like a man, it just doesn't sound good.
Well, I don't know if she's trying.
She's trying to act like Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump.
Well, here's this whole thing. Her and Charlie Crist, there's this new tact that, or tack, what do you want to say, that the left are taking now. And Charlie Crist and her are doing it, and it's going to catch on very quickly. And they even joked on the news on Fox today that they consulted a PR firm to come up with this, they think. And the new tack is that we're just going to give up because we can't convince anybody that what we're doing is the right thing. So instead, what we'll do is just tell them to get the hell out of town.
Yeah.
Just leave. You don't like it? Well, then you can just go, well, you know what? That's fine with me. All the MAGA people can move to Florida, and all the Democrats can move to New York and California and stay there, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Kathy, what's going on right now is really historic, right? All this movement of people to different states. Like, you've seen stories of people that are leaving Texas because they want to go somewhere where there's more liberal abortion laws. I guess they think they may need an abortion in the first in the 11th and beyond week in the future. So they move to Washington State. And what the governor of New York is saying, it's historic because there is this mass migration going on.
No, you're going to start seeing this now, yeah.
Yeah, there's this mass migration going on of people moving vast distances in this country, crossing multiple state lines to get to a place where people share their political ideology. And
I had said that months ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you did. You did. Well, we've never seen something like this before, and maybe the country has too much diversity when it comes to diversity of political opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think it's such a bad thing. I mean, I'd said a while ago with Roe v. Wade that this is going to divide the country geographically. And you're going to start seeing people moving, choosing colleges based on these laws. And I think, and that's what America is supposed to be like. You're not supposed to have a big federal government making laws over everything. They're just there to protect you. You're supposed to have each state has their own laws that the people vote on.
Yeah.
And you can live in the state that aligns with your beliefs and the kind of laws you want to live under. And I'm all for it. And all the liberals can move to California or New York. Just those 2 states is fine with me. And then everybody else that's MAGA can live in the rest of the country. Let's see how well that fares for them.
I think it's good.
During the election season.
It's really hard for a state to get, like here in Florida right now, everybody is coming to Florida that's conservative. And, we have Ron DeSantis. It's very conservative. But it hasn't always been that way, okay? This state, while we've had Republican governors since 1998 when Jeb Bush first became our governor, we've had some very strong Democrat counties. Like maybe 4 counties out of Florida's 67 counties are Democrats. Broward, Palm Beach County, where Mar-a-Lago is, Orlando, where Disney World is, and Dade County. And those counties have been Democrat for a long time, and it's changing now. And what's left of the Democrat stronghold is weakened. And so many of the divisions and problems we've had in Florida in the past are because of these handful of Democrat counties. And now that it's just a red state by far, it's a much happier place because everyone here shares a mindset. I'll give you an example. There was a judge's ruling in Texas that anyone who's 18 years of age or older can carry a gun now with their carry rules that they have there. And here in Florida, Governor DeSantis says before he leaves office in his second term, we will have open carry in Florida. We have concealed carry now, but open carry in Florida, which is what I'm really looking forward to. That's great. That's great. Liberals don't like that. Fine. Live in some state where they don't like guns, where they don't want people carrying guns. I think it's a good thing.
Live in a state where they don't let you carry guns. They defund the police.
It's awesome.
They let 10 cities exist and see how long you last there. And I'll live in a state that has Second Amendment rights, protects the citizens, backs the blue, and I'll live in a much safer place. I can tell you that.
Because
all the criminals are going to go to New York and California because they can go into a Louis Vuitton and smash and grab, and nobody's going to do a damn thing. You see it on the news almost every day, these gangs of burglars. They just broke into another store last week. They break into a store. They have the masks, and they just break in and they take whatever they want. There was a burglary in a store last week. I saw the video. There was a security guard standing in the doorway, literally just standing there doing literally nothing, which is fine. He's not going to risk his life. And burglars came in the middle of the day, took everything that they wanted, and he just stood there the whole time. I mean, having a security guard there is no longer a deterrent. It doesn't scare these people. So go live in those states that allow this and leave us alone. I'm with her. I agree with her on this.
So
get the hell out.
I think the country will be a lot happier of a place to live in when the people that live in each state agree with one another on their viewpoint. You know, it's the same way with neighborhoods. When you're looking to buy a house, you want to live in a neighborhood that shares your viewpoints and your way of looking at things. And it makes it a better neighborhood for you and for your kids. So I like this idea. And, you know, one of the problems we've had with so much political diversity in this country is what we've talked about before. You know, you've got a totally different worldview, right? If you're a liberal, you want to legalize all the drugs. Like this guy running for governor or running for Senate, Fetterman. He's running for the Senate against Dr. Oz. He wants to legalize heroin and let convicted murderers out of prison after 10 years.
Crazy.
Well, you know, hey, listen.
Convicted murderers out of jail.
After 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, they've already done. Yeah.
I can't imagine. If Dr. Oz can't beat this guy, then he's the worst candidate on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And because this has got to be the easiest guy to beat with those kind of beliefs. Oh, I can't imagine Dr. Oz cannot beat this guy. I mean, this is crazy. Trump needs to go up at the rally, and instead of trying to pump up Oz, he needs to really highlight this Fetterman and what he believes in. I didn't know he believed in that. And he needs to really highlight Fetterman's platform and his beliefs and scare the hell out of the people of Pennsylvania. Because going up there and trying to pump up Oz is not going to work. It's not going to sell. But if you go up there and scare the bejeebus out of the audience and the people in Pennsylvania, that'll motivate them to vote for Oz.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now.
Well, you know, but if Pennsylvania wants to let murderers out on the streets of Pennsylvania after they do 10 years, let Pennsylvania decide.
Those murderers might not stay in Pennsylvania.
That's true. I don't
want them out. They might move to Florida.
Well, what I'm saying is that's an extreme example.
Yeah, crazy.
But really, the division in the country is mostly because we have too much diversity of political opinion in the different states. And, you know, and another problem is that there's not enough diversity in the news business. You know, the news, the mainstream news, the national news that dictates everything that is out there is based out of New York City and D.C., and they're very liberal areas. And it gives you a false impression. I'd like to see some of these news networks. You know, like if you want to have a conservative news network or a fair and balanced news network, you should be out of New York and out of Washington. You know, Newsmax, now they have studios in New York and some of it's out of New York, but a lot of what Newsmax does is out of Florida, out of Miami and Palm Beach, Florida. A lot of people don't know that. So, you know, I think some of the media needs to get out of New York. You know, Fox News used to be very good And then they started hiring all these MSNBCers and CNNers and everything else. And here we are all these years later, and they're basically a liberal network now. If Fox News was not based in New York and Washington, maybe they wouldn't have hired all these people from the other news outlets.
Maybe. That
turned it around into something else. Now, I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. You know, those of you that are Patreon supporters to the program, you do sponsor this program, and it means a lot. It helps us out a lot, and we want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, please do. There's a link in the description of this and every episode. You click on the Patreon link, and it walks you right through on how to become a Patreon member. And there are perks to it. Patreon members get commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. That's for all Patreon supporters. Kathy and I put some exclusive content from time to time on our Patreon page. Like yesterday, Kathy and I did a podcast that was just for Patreon supporters only. No one else will hear that podcast episode. This episode will be uploaded after we finish the program to our Patreon page without commercials. And I've added something. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air shout-out on each and every podcast episode, and their first names are listed in the description of the podcast episode. But now, top Patreon supporters will also have their names listed in the YouTube video descriptions of any YouTube video I do. So, that's a little added benefit. And our top Patreon supporters also get a live on-air shout out on each and every episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, and LePaul. These are our top Patreon supporters. And as I said, our top Patreon supporters, your names are listed in the description, not just of the podcast episodes now, which we've been doing for a long time, but just started today listing the top Patreon supporters' first names in the YouTube video descriptions. Like when I do the live stream on the radio in the morning, or I upload a vlog or something, your name will be listed there. So again, there is a link in the episode description to our Patreon page, and please become a Patreon supporter. It means a lot to us, and it does help us out a lot. So on Saturday this week, Trump is having his rally in Pennsylvania, right, for Dr. Oz and the guy running for governor, Mastriano. And this is President Trump's first rally since the Mar-a-Lago break-in. I mean, and this one, so not that we would miss it anyway, but this one is without question 100% newsworthy. Every news outlet should carry it live because he's expected to talk about it.
Absolutely.
On top of the fact that there's major controversies in both the governor's race and the Senate race that he'll be dealing with in Pennsylvania, but they're not going to carry it. Newsmax will carry it. Right Side Broadcasting will carry it. Fox News, I bet you won't carry it. We know CNN and MSNBC won't carry it. It's really disgusting.
Well, this just came out in the
everything
Daily
that's
Mail
going on. Yeah, now
about that.
Yeah, now I want to share this with you, and this is, this is never going to end. No matter what you read, no matter what you hear, this break-in of Mar-a-Lago is going to follow us for decades to come because it's unprecedented.
I know. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's endless. Now, there's a headline here in the Daily Mail. The Department of Justice admits it did seize documents that could be protected by attorney-client privilege during Mar-a-Lago raid, backing up Trump's claim that FBI agents had no right to take them. Yeah, so those are the privileged documents.
I wonder if that can hurt their indictment case, if they can get any charges thrown out based on that, because aren't there laws with search and seizure? And if you have a search warrant and you take something that you're not supposed to, is that, I'm not a lawyer, is that grounds to have the charges not, be thrown out?
I heard one of the legal experts on TV, it was Turley or Dershowitz, I can't remember which one said this. Maybe they both said it, but it was either Turley or Dershowitz. I know it was one of them. They said these attorney-client privilege documents they took could contain legal strategy that they plan on using with Trump. So that would toss out everything that they seized.
I would think so. I would think that if they did grab something that they weren't supposed to, that was, supposed to be private.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of it was. I wonder how that would affect things. So, Trump, the one thing I've learned about Trump is he always has his Trump card.
Mm-hmm.
And he always has a way to play the right hand when he needs to. He thinks outside the box. He's got a great team of lawyers with him, and, he's only going to hire smart people. And they're always, seem to have the right way to respond, or I wouldn't know what to do. Of course, I'm not Trump and I'm not an attorney, but they always seem to, know what to do. Like now they're going to have this master overlook things. And then they said they took these documents and this and that. He always seems to be one step ahead, or at least off to the side, and really knows how to handle the situation. He always seems to have the right answer for everything. That's why I always tell people just to trust Trump and not to worry and not to lose sleep over this stuff, because Trump is, of all the people in the world, he's probably the one guy who can handle all of this and handle it the right way and take all of this on. And, I think it's important to just keep praying for him and trust in that and try not to worry. I know we all do, because it just seems one thing after another. But you're right, the left will never stop. They're never satisfied.
It's not just the left, Kathy. It's the Republicans, too.
Yeah, the swamp.
But, like we were talking at the beginning about Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, no, the
so
swamp,
it's them,
exactly,
too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got it coming from both sides.
Well, this is the thing, and I know MAGA people, you get this. We all get this that are MAGA. The people that aren't MAGA, and I don't mean like the people in Washington and the media, they know what's going on because they're, but I'm talking about like voters. It's amazing to me, the extreme left, Bernie Sanders lunatics, the AOC lunatics and all those people. They always talk about how special interest and corporate interest have too much control over government. Can't they see that that's what President Trump is up against? He's up against the corporate interests, the donors, all these people that the left are always telling you have too much influence and power over government.
They see it, but they're not going to come to his defense.
And it's because he can't be bought.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go on your Alexa, I've been doing this the last few days, and you tell Alexa, and I know this will probably turn on some of your devices, and it may turn on some of our devices. We have an Alexa in every room of the house, including the bathroom and the back porch.
There's not one in Emily's room.
No, our daughter doesn't have one. She has another device.
She has a Google Home.
Yeah. But if you say this to Alexa, Alexa, play the best of Donald Trump. You get a highlight of clips of Donald Trump speeches.
Oh yeah, Brian's been playing it all week.
And it always starts with the one with him with the guy from Univision.
Yes.
That little tiny guy that he kicked out. It always starts with that. Yeah, Jorge Ramos, who's from Mexico but became a U.S. citizen legally. And you get a lot of highlights from different debates and interviews and everything he was in. It's very, very good. And it's always very tense, no matter who he's talking to, because it's always Donald Trump versus the big interest behind things that are going on. I mean, look at what's happened here. This war in Ukraine is all about special interest.
Yeah,
right?
You don't hear about that anymore.
No, even though they keep
really
funneling
don't hear
money
about
there.
That anymore. Exactly. It's money funneling and laundering or whatever you want to call it. Where is that money gone? Do we even know? I mean, they have spent so much money. And now they've forgiven all these student loans and all this stuff. I mean, that's what Democrats know how to do, is spend money. That's for sure. They spend it better than anybody. Yeah,
so do that with your Alexa. So just say, Alexa, play the best of Donald Trump. And you'll have a good time. It's a lot of good listening. I do it all the time. I was playing it on the back porch over the weekend, and then you came out, Kathy, and said, oh, the neighbors, we liberal neighbors.
Well, you turned it up really loud.
I was listening to it really loud, yeah.
I don't mean to be that way, but you never know who's around you, and I don't want to create any, and we already had one problem in the past.
Oh, yes.
So I want to live in peace. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
I can't handle chaos.
Yeah, liberal neighbors, even in Ron DeSantis' free Florida, there still are some liberals here.
Yeah, well, there's people in our neighborhood that have been here a long, long time. I know our one neighbor is very liberal.
Yes. Oh my goodness, are they ever?
But she's a nice old lady. She definitely does not like Trump.
The one that is the person that is not a neighbor, but the one liberal that gets really just hates Trump that we deal with is our lawn guy.
Yeah, that's right. The lawn guy, he says stuff to you. You went out with a Trump shirt on, and he about lost his mind.
He came over.
Yeah, I don't think you told this story.
He came. I'm sure I did tell you. He's very old, and he's black.
A nice guy.
He's a nice guy, but he's very old and he's black. And he just doesn't understand. He thinks he does, but he doesn't. And he was so upset at the Trump flag hanging off the garage. And he just like, I remember a time when things were different and you're too young to know. And I'm like, how old do you think I'm older than I don't know. What's he talking? I think the time he's referring to is when Democrats were segregating our society. And when he was a kid, he probably went to one of those, because he's a Floridian, he probably was very young when we had the Democrat Jim Crow laws, and he went to a segregated school because of Democrats.
Does he remember that they were Democrats that were imposing
Obviously not. Obviously not.
He's believing the liberal lies. And he brought it up a couple times to you.
Yeah, he does not like it.
After he hasn't done it lately, I guess, but after that, a few times he would say something, but he was nice about it. He still cuts our lawn. I was expecting
I pay him to do it, Kathy.
No, but there are people that are so crazy, they'll be like, I don't want your business. There are people that have said that. Now, clearly he doesn't mind, and we're obviously not going to fire him because he's a liberal. I don't care, as long as he cuts the lawn really nice and he's a nice guy, and Brian takes him out water every time he comes. Cold water and shoots the breeze for a few minutes. So, there's the whole thing with the politicians. They really want to make it out like we're all at each other's throats, but we're really not. We are able to coexist. We're all adults, and most of us do coexist. But now there are people that have gotten divorced over Trump. I've read stories about that. But I think most people can coexist and get along. But they want you to think in the media that we're all just screaming and yelling and hating each other and can't even have a civil discussion. That's what they want. But it's really not like that.
Yeah, and I know some people will say, you got this little guy mowing your lawn. Why do you pay this? And I'll tell you why. And it's a good... He was really, fuming when he first found out we were MAGA, right? And I am so nice to everybody. I'm nice to everybody all the time. He comes over here. He's got like a lawn crew with him. They mowed other lawns on the street. I take all of them cold bottles of water every time they're here. I'm always nice. And what I'm showing them is we're not what MSNBC and CNN has told him that we are.
That's right.
When you're dealing with a liberal that, like in this situation where I'm in, that hate Trump, they hate Republicans, they hate MAGA, don't say, well, I don't want nothing to do with you, and feed into them. Let them see that all these things they've heard are untrue, negative stereotypes.
We are supposed to show kindness. I'm assuming most of you are Christian. And we're supposed to show kindness to our fellow man and not to hate our brothers and sisters or our neighbors. That's actually considered a sin. Jesus said the greatest thing is to love each other and to love your neighbors yourself. That's the golden rule.
Yeah.
And so we're supposed to do that and not fall into this trap of division and anger and hatred. That is totally against what Jesus teaches. So if you have people that disagree with you, that's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. Just smile and be kind. And show them that there is another way, and show them, like you said, wow, these people aren't as bad as they want. There have been many people, like I've said before, if you watch The Walk Away on YouTube, they've interviewed many, many people and the same story over and over again. I went to a rally. I couldn't believe how nice everybody was. I thought they were going to be so horrible.
That's right.
And I realized the media was lying to me, and they're the nicest people. That is the way you need to be, is just to be kind. And if somebody can't accept that, that's their problem, not yours.
And I'm sure the Biden gas prices are affecting this guy's lawn business. Oh.
I would think so, but he probably still loves Biden because he's living in the 60s.
Yeah, that's true.
And he somehow thinks, even though those were all the Democrats oppressing the black people, somehow he bought into it that it's the Republicans, which have oppressed nobody.
Yeah, exactly. Now, listen, we're going to take our last break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Back after this.
Are your mornings ready for an upgrade? The Morning Upgrade Podcast with Ryan Cote is all about personal development. By having a strong morning routine, you can change your life for the better. In fact, the right morning can be the catalyst to success and growth in your life. It's all about investing in yourself and personal growth in the right direction, making positive changes in your morning routine to get the results in life that you want. Striving to be a better version of yourself is a goal that never should end. We all need to work on improving ourselves. being our best selves impacts everyone around us. And it starts with the right attitude and the right morning routine. Add the Morning Upgrade podcast to your podcast playlist. Available on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcast player, and morningupgrade.com. Make sure to sign up for the newsletter, The Morning Upgrade Podcast with Ryan Cote. You're in business and you have a website, but if you need a website platform that grows with your business and want to break free from the do-it-yourself website building sites, it's time to check out SpiderSavvy.com. SpiderSavvy.com build autonomous websites for professionals. They provide the essentials to establish and grow your online presence. SpiderSavvy.com can help with web design and development, SEO, WordPress hosting, content development, and that's just the beginning. SpiderSavvy.com has been helping their very satisfied customers since 2005, and now they want to help you and your business. Contact them right now. Visit SpiderSavvy.com. That's SpiderSavvy.com. Building the web. Neon is hot, and neon signs are perfect for your home, office, business, or to celebrate an event. Mastery Craft, that's all one word, Masteri, on Etsy.com, sell amazing neon signs at great prices. They have pre-made and custom signs that are perfect for all rooms and every occasion. Right now, receive a 25% discount on existing signs. Enjoy 40% off personalized designs. These are handmade neon signs with a nice, clean, professional look. They're easy to install and ready to go. If you want to bring a cool look to any space, get your neon sign from Mastery Craft. That's all one word, Masteri, on Etsy.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Okay, so here we have the latest. This is from Fox News. Justice Department tells judge it already reviewed Trump documents, okay? The Justice Department announced in a court filing today that they already reviewed documents seized by Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago and that they identified a limited set of documents that could include the attorney-client privilege information, right? We were talking about earlier. The DOJ said they would provide more information in a separate filing, but they said that prior to the court issuing a preliminary order, blah, 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 this is what we know. This is another confirmation of what we knew before anything came out. They got nothing. If they had one document that showed anything inappropriate, they would have a press conference and doing it. Now, over the weekend.
I would think so.
Yeah, a story came out over the weekend that is part of this whole setup of Donald Trump. This story of the Ukrainian woman who was pretending to be a Rothschild and somehow got into Mar-a-Lago and got pictures with Trump. You saw this? You guys, any of you guys see this? This was to show, this was a whole government psyops. This was to show that Mar-a-Lago is not secure. He's got all these documents there. Look at this Ukrainian woman who got, it's always Ukraine.
Always.
All roads lead to Ukraine.
That's right.
I mean, what is that about? Vindman's Ukrainian.
Yeah. This
war, that the phone call was when Trump talked to Zelensky. What is it with Ukraine? What is, why?
The person Don Jr. met with about the adoption, wasn't that a Ukrainian person?
I think it might have been Russian.
Okay.
But it was close enough.
Yeah.
What is the deal with Ukraine? Why is Ukraine so heavily involved? You know,
because they want to give the impression that Donald Trump is colluding with the Russian government and the Ukrainian government. They're, you know, they speak Russian, don't they? I mean, they're kind of...
They speak Ukrainian, and some of them speak Russian.
Okay, because I know Mila Kunis speaks Russian, and she grew up... She was
a lot
born
of them
in the
speak
Ukraine.
both.
And it's, you know, was part of Russia, and it's next door, and they want to give the impression that he's in collusion with these two countries, and that they're working to spy on us, and that he's letting it happen. He's giving them that access. So they're giving the impression that either she snuck through or Trump allowed it, but this person has, you know, like you said, the documents aren't secure. And maybe Mar-a-Lago's not secure. And they're trying to give the impression that these documents are not safe because Mar-a-Lago is letting this woman in.
Exactly.
And they're not protecting these documents.
Exactly.
So that is not an accident that this story came out at this time, because they want to give that impression. Well, she got through. They're not protecting these documents. It's an unsecured location. so they shouldn't be there. So he's breaking the law. He's allowing these governments to spy and blah, blah, blah. And they want to give you the impression that she's going into this fantasy basement and thumbing through all the documents.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I was talking to Steve Kane right before we did the show. He thinks that the Justice Department are trying to get out of this, that they're trying to end this.
Why does he think that?
I don't
Steve
think...
sees things a little differently sometimes.
Well, because he watches Fox News too much. I don't think so.
What made him say that, though? What happened that made him
That's what they've been saying on Fox today. But when I was talking this morning about reading the New York Times over the weekend, which do not read the New York Times. It is bad news. I read the 2 front page stories in the New York Times on Saturday because the reason I did is because I wanted to read what their take was on the affidavits that were released with fewer redactions and all this stuff than too many redactions, but you know what I'm talking about from Friday. And I'm reading these stories and their viewpoint of Donald Trump, they hate him more than I thought.
I wanted to say this after your show today. I meant to bring this up. And how a lot of people were kind of getting upset with you in the chat and calling in being like, you shouldn't talk about this. It's really important to understand that Democrats are not living in the real world.
No, they're on another planet.
They make things up. Look at this whole Russia thing. Reporters literally won a Pulitzer Prize
for the Russia hoax,
for their coverage of the Russia scandal, which was a complete
Russia hoax
fantasy. It was a complete hoax, but they won Pulitzer Prizes, which they still have, for their coverage of this complete lie. They live in this world of lies. Okay. So that's what you're dealing with. Are people that live in a world of lies.
So these reporters, like New York Times reporters, I think, got Pulitzer Prize for their Russia hoax coverage. I want you to think about this. It has been proven that the Russia hoax was a Russia hoax. It's been proven and established it was fake.
Right.
How can you win a Pulitzer Prize in journalism for investigative reporting and reporting, and your investigations led you to report that things that were not true and lies were true? They should be taken away. You've heard of people like losing their medals. People have lost medals that they've won in the Olympics. People have lost titles after they won them.
Yeah, like the cyclist.
Yeah, Lance Armstrong.
He lost all his medals.
Like Lance Armstrong. Those Pulitzer Prizes should be taken away because they're the worst reporters. They're at the top of the newspaper business. They did all these extensive investigations.
Off Twitter.
And went and said that something was true that was not, and they won awards for their investigative reporting.
So you're dealing with people that are not rational.
It's an alternate
They don't
universe
think like us. They live in an alternate reality. And when you read these publications, and I know a lot of you don't want to do this, or watch CNN or MSNBC, and you see how they think, it's upsetting, but you start to understand their mindset. And you shouldn't close yourself off to that entirely because you really see how they're thinking, and a lot of times they reveal what they're planning on doing. They are not living in the real world. They delude themselves, like Bill Maher, who said Donald Trump is lucky. He cannot even accept the fact that maybe Donald Trump just isn't guilty.
That's right.
He cannot come to that point. He lies to himself because he cannot sleep at night if he thinks Donald Trump is an innocent man.
That's right.
Like he can't exist.
Yeah.
So he has to lie to himself. So that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with deluded people.
Yeah. I mean, if the New York Times hadn't done stories and reporting on the Russia hoax and their investigation led them to see that it was truly a hoax and reported that, then they get a Pulitzer Prize. But how do you get a Pulitzer Prize for investigative journalism, and your investigation gave you a false conclusion?
Yeah, and then when you found out,
that's
you
crazy.
Didn't even write up a follow-up. To say, we were bamboozled.
Well, you know what,
people
Kathy?
Can never admit they're wrong.
When I got the New York Times on Saturday, I got the actual newspaper on newspaper print. First time I've done that in years, and I won't do it again. It was such a waste of money. $3 for the New York Times.
The newspapers are really small.
They're like,
I couldn't believe.
They're like pamphlets.
You got the Sun Sentinel, and it was smaller than a section used to be. The whole paper. I couldn't. But the Sun Sentinel used to be
That's right.
Huge. Back in the 80s and 90s, huge. I mean, it was like 3 inches thick.
Newspapers are out.
Now the whole paper is like literally like the lifestyle section.
So I got the...
It's crazy. And twice as much.
So I got the New York Times, and I'm going through it. They have a whole section of the New York Times that are just retractions and corrections. And and I'm serious. I'm serious. And
I believe it.
It's buried. It's buried at the bottom of a page towards the back, and they're always like little one paragraph things scrunched.
Because they don't care if they lie.
I couldn't believe how many retractions and corrections they had to have. That's the Pulitzer Prize one. Now I want to share something I did on a personal note. I have done something that I've done a while. I've splurged on myself.
We haven't done it yet.
No, well, we got the ticket. And
right, yeah, that's true.
There is, a lot of you know that I'm a huge Star Trek fan. And there is a very professionally done fan Star Trek series on YouTube called Star Trek Continues. So look this up on YouTube, Star Trek Continues. And it's a group of professional actors and special effects people who did these incredible fan films based on the original Star Trek series, and they have completely rebuilt the sets from the original Star Trek series. And from the 1960s, it looks exactly like it's a complete replica. It's called Star Trek Continues. There's a lot of Star Trek fan films on YouTube, but these are like the best you've ever seen. They look just like the original series. The sets are identical. They had the actual plans from the original Star Trek sets that were built in the 60s, and they rebuilt them with professional people, and they're fully functional. It almost goes into space. It's an unbelievable thing. But if you look it up online and watch a couple of these episodes, it will blow your mind away. It's called Star Trek Continues. And I went to something I've not done in many, many years. I went to a science fiction convention over the weekend called UltraCon in West Palm Beach, and the actor who plays Captain Kirk in this series was there, and I found out that they are giving tours of these sets, and the sets are in Georgia. So I am going soon, and in a future time, in the next couple of months, I'm going to these sets, and I'm flying there, and I'm flying on a Friday, taking the tour on Saturday, and then flying back on Saturday. That's my big splurge. But I just want you guys to go on YouTube and look for Star Trek Continues and watch at least one of these episodes, and you'll see these sets that I'm going to. It's going to blow your mind.
They look exactly like the originals. The lighting, the sounds, it's incredible.
I'm really excited. It's
incredible.
I am going to have
I've never seen a replica like that. It's really amazing.
No, and they're made for filming. They've got the bridge, the hallway, the engineering room, the sick bay, Kirk's quarters, and it is an exact 100% replica of the original Star Trek series from the 1960s.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's fully functional so that it has the lights, everything works. Even Sulu's thing lifts up out of the control panel on the bridge. It's unbelievable. So go and look that up. Star Trek Continues on YouTube, and you'll see where I'm going. And I got to tell you, I am like so excited to do this. Mm-hmm. I've wanted to go to these sets for many, many years, and they do, from time to time, like once a year, allow people to go and visit these sets. And I found out about it last year after the fact, okay, and missed the opportunity. And because of COVID, they missed, there's some stuff. So when I found out about it this weekend, just quite by accident, I'm like, oh, man, I got to do this. So I know it sounds kind of ridiculous.
Gosh. I'll be hearing about it for the next few months. I won't get a break.
I don't know how they're going to get me off the set. I might not come back. I might move
I'm excited
to the Enterprise.
For you. I know it's a big deal.
Yeah, so go and watch some of that on YouTube. You'll see what I mean. You'll be blown away.
Well, I want to talk about our merchandise shop, magamerch.shop. I think that's the name of it. Let me double check.
Yes, it is.
Magamerch.shop.
That's what it is, Kathy.
And we have some really cool T-shirts in there, and you got to scroll down. They don't let you categorize it too much, so you have to kind of scroll a little bit. But the most popular designs are at the top, and we have a lot of T-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve mugs, some stickers, a lot of really fun things. And also our Facebook group, we are very close to 3,000 members, so I really would like to get you guys to join that. And how that works, it's Brian Craig Show on Facebook, and we post articles you can comment on. Occasionally we do polls. And trying to get Brian to do some Facebook live streams, so maybe that'll happen down the road. He's so busy. He keeps forgetting, but we're going to try to get that going eventually. I'll bug him enough. But definitely join the group at least for the articles and to leave comments on things. Pretty much our article thing we talk about, I post in there, and then some.
And we put a lot of things that you don't see on other social media that we have up there too. A lot of exclusive stuff. And there's, it's the Brian Craig Show. Is it the Brian Craig Show on Facebook? There's a link in the episode description, okay? I have a link tree.
Yeah.
Link,
go to the link tree. All of Brian's links are there.
All my links are there to everything.
It is
the Brian Craig Show.
The Brian Craig Show podcast.
That's correct. Yeah.
And we have about 2,925 people. So we're getting close to, I'd like to hit that 3,000 mark. And if you're on Facebook, please join that group. We'd love to have you and check out our merch shop too, magamerch.shop.
Well, a lot of conservatives, and I get it, left Facebook and everything else, after what happened with President
I think
Trump.
Some have come back.
But people are coming back. And, I talked about all this when people started leaving all the different social media platforms. I said, this is how we're networked. Trump's success is through our networking. And the more social media you're on and networking through, the better, really.
Yeah, don't let them silence you,
No. But I'm telling you, President Trump's Truth Social is going to be the place that is, by the time we get to the next presidential election, Truth Social, not Twitter, is going to be the place where news and politics is discussed.
Trump is almost up to 4 million followers on Truth, and it's growing every day. There's a lot of liberals on Truth, so the liberals can't even stay away from there, and they love to tell you that they're there because they like to monitor things and make sure that we're not lying, and we really need their help. But that's why they're really there because they're obsessed with Trump. They can't stay away like moths to a flame, and he's the beacon. Even for the people that hate him, he's their beacon.
Now, there's one last thing I want to mention that's a bit of self-promotion too, but I want to get this out. The Steve Kane, Brian Craig cruise that we're going on in January, our MAGA cruise, leaving out of Port Everglades on the Celebrity Apex for 7 days. I was talking to Ian. He's our travel agent from Cruise and Travel Depot. We've had a massive surge in bookings joining our MAGA cruise group for January. And a lot of people are coming alone, a lot of singles. And you're not going to be alone because we've got a great MAGA group and we spend so much time together. And on our first night, we do a get-together where we're going to socialize and everyone can get to know each other. But Ian was telling me today that a lot of people have booked on the cruise over the last week because, remember, they have lifted the vaccine requirement. Now, you no longer need to be vaccinated to go on cruises, and people have been booking like crazy on our cruise in the last week. But a whole bunch of people have been coming who are listeners of the podcast from around the country, as well as people who watch me exclusively on YouTube, not just locals that know me from the radio down here. And when we are on the cruise, if you're there, you'll get to see and meet some of these people. I'm not going to announce it unless they do in a chat room or something. They're welcome to say they're coming, but I'm not going to announce people are coming unless they do it on their own. But that's really awesome. And I want to give out Ian's number. If you want to join us, learn more about the cruise, call Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot, 561-244-5779. 561-244-5779.
I want to say one more thing. I just saw this story. This is amazing. Yeah. Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, he's a nutcase.
Well, not anymore. He has converted to Catholicism.
Oh.
He is playing.
I take back what I said.
He's a very good actor, by the way. He's lived a very rough life. He had drug problems and a lot of issues.
Spoiled
he had
Hollywood.
An abusive father. But anyway.
Yeah.
Very talented actor, by the way. He is playing in a movie, the Catholic saint Padre Pio. Are you familiar with him? He's very famous. You have to look him up. I've read about him.
Yeah.
He is playing in a movie. It says here on Bishop Robert Barron's YouTube channel, World on Fire. I'll have to check this out. Hollywood star Shia LaBeouf announced to the world he has converted to Catholicism.
Wow.
After training with Franciscan friars to play Catholic Saint Padre Pio. He said he was suicidal, felt very much shame for the way he lived his life, how many people he hurt in his life, and he had a deep sense of guilt. But after training, he says, St. Paul, and he said, the Philippian jailer, whatever that is, was on the verge of suicide. Oh, they're talking about something from the Bible. But anyway, he converted and is now Catholic.
Was he Christian before?
I don't know. Probably atheist. I mean, he's in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's probably true.
It says he felt compelled to pursue holiness once he saw sin was a fundamental feature of human existence.
Well, he's growing
something
up.
all saints struggled with. More importantly, it was seeing the power of forgiveness.
You know what Shia LaBeouf
Christ
has been
forgives all sinners. Well, good for him.
Well,
I'm very happy for him.
I hope he's cleaned himself up. But
obviously.
He used to be insane. He basically lived the life of Hunter Biden.
Yeah, and he said that. He said that he lived a very selfish existence, that he hurt a lot of people. He was into pleasuring himself at the expense of others, which is typical of Hollywood people, and that he felt such guilt as he got older. Because what happens is when you grow up, whether you like it or not, you gain perspective and you start to look back on your life and you start to feel bad or good about things you've done. And he was suicidal because he realized he was such a schmuck and he just couldn't get over it. And then when he trained with these friars and these priests and everything. For the part.
Oh, because he's like a method actor.
He probably lived in a monastery, and they explained to him how Christianity works, how Catholicism works. They talked to him about Paul, who talked about his own sin and was imprisoned and all this. And he realized what he said is that Jesus forgives your sins, that everybody's a sinner.
That's right.
And you're never irredeemable. You are never irredeemable. So I'm very happy.
That's awesome.
You know who I pray to be converted? You're going to think this is nuts. But I regularly pray for Bill Maher to become converted.
That would be amazing.
He, to me, would be like, if you know the story of Paul, okay, who was Saul and became converted. He was a big attacker of Christians and imprisoned them and everything and mocked them. That would be on that level of, because he is an atheist. He's actually made documentaries mocking religion. Yeah. And he continually mocks Jesus, which and mocking the Holy Spirit is the one unforgivable sin is blaspheming the Holy Spirit. But I would love to see Bill Maher become a convert, like full on Christian, and I pray for that regularly.
That would be awesome.
Regularly. So if that ever happens, I'm not saying it's my responsibility, but my prayers were answered because I do pray for that because I think that would be huge. But anyway,
sure would.
Good for Shia.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of time for today, but we will be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening.